Well, I am very pleased that I'm all oily, but incredibly pleased that I got the front fairing. It's got a name, I forget. I want to say Lasset, something like that. So these are the parts I was attempting to get off, and I've been ruminating on it for a while, and I knew how it had to come off, and I pondered and I pondered and I pondered, and if it was a modern machine, I would have gone onto YouTube and somebody would have showed me how to do it, and I would have remembered. But you forget. And then you sit down and think about it. I said before that if I kept wearing it, I would have broke or damaged something, would have used a vice grip or something. But there's a funny tool. I don't even have a name for this. But you see it's got that little tooth on it, 2 different sizes. This wasn't the right size, but I made it work. And it locks in here, just so you hold that. Because these are really only put on, you know, like not much more than hand tight. And I tried what I had and it didn't work and it frustrated me. But then Gracie came and got to hold the wrench and stabilize the bottom. And once it breaks, it's hand tight. It's really not that hard, but you just got to think it through. And the right tool makes all the difference. I'm very lucky that this tool, and I don't have a name for it. I'll check out, and I'm sure someone online can tell me what the name of this tool is. But I have one in my Ural motorcycle toolkit. The Ural's a funny machine in that it comes with a kit that they advertise you can rebuild the motorcycle with, and I'm not doubtful that that's true. So that was very nice. I was very lucky. I can now think very seriously about paint. I have all the parts I want. Now there's some chrome pieces and stuff that come in here that I probably won't put back on. Just thinking it through and what I want to do with this. So I've got to find someone, and I know a few guys. I know a guy up north that's a good painter, but I don't know if he's a body man. But I know a couple guys here. So we'll look at getting those holes filled. I'll have to really sit down and put it all, mock it back together really before I know what I'm going to do with it. So I'm very pleased with that. That was a successful afternoon and deserves a beverage. So I'm not sure what else I can get done today. It's 4:30. Took me a couple hours. It's interesting because just had this conversation last week. This is a Triumph Motorcycles. It's not really the, it's not really the right book for this, but a lot of parts are similar. So I look at this and try to think it through. How does it work? How can I sort of reverse that? Now this is a lot less like this than I would like it to be. Now online I do have one that's closer. But the name of the game, and that's what I was discussing with Neil just the other day, the name of the game isn't one manual, you gotta get a few. And as Neil says, you see a picture with a guy with a whole set of gears putting them into the gearbox. Don't work that way. You know, for some reason, we sort of turn these manuals into fiction. And it's the way it's been forever. It's the way it's been forever. So, what happens if I sit down? Oh, that's okay. 4:30, 4:28, something like that. Beverage. The world turning. I'm starting to really, I've said for a long time that, and I know that what I say is wrong, but I say there's no difference in the politicians, right or left. And that's not correct. But what I mean by that is that all politicians are there for one reason, and that is themselves. As soon as a political position, El Presidente, Premier, senator, governor, congressman, parliamentarian, anytime, and then that goes in line, I gotta digress, but it goes in line with political appointments as well. There are a lot of elections, things are elected like, sheriffs in the states, county auditors and things like that. There are a lot of positions that are elected. But once someone gets into office, their primary task is to remain in office. So it creates this vicious, corrupt system. And it goes deeper than that. It goes into the appointed. So I get elected to office and I appoint my buddy to be head of roads and highways and airports or something. And so he's appointed there because of me. And I've seen that a lot in my life, where guys are part of the political entity, whether they're a sanitation officer. These are political appointments. Judges are the same. As soon as you're in, you have other jobs to do, but your primary responsibility to yourself is to remain where you are. And that's where the corruption begins. So they're not different that way. They're all in that canoe. But there is a lot of difference, and I don't know if it's better or for worse. I certainly believe that the modern liberal attitudes that we're hearing put out will bankrupt us. And it's doing it right now. It's bankrupting us spiritually, morally, intellectually. If I can't say what I think, and free speech is hindered in any way, shape, or form, then we are less intellectually. And I can think of two cases right away. I can't think of their names, but there's the guy, the professor, the scientist from James Cook's University, who a few years back, in the middle of all the global warming rhetoric and the Great Barrier Reef, he stepped forward and said, "Excuse me, the reef is actually better off now, and this is a load of crap." Well, he lost his job. It's been a long court case. Look it up. It's a common one. Great Barrier Reef, J.D. Cook University scandal. And this guy has been ruined because he didn't agree with the opinion of the day. He didn't toe the party line. There's another guy, and I don't know his name, I don't know of him, but I listened to him this week, committed suicide last week, a conservative university professor out of University of North Carolina. And he was talking about things like, it's not the white supremacists that fuck it all up. It's the fact that the social policies, and I speak only in the United States right now. I don't want to get in trouble by trying to say I know things other than what's happening in the States. But the liberal policies in the United States over the last 40 years or more, 50 years, 60 years really, have led to the disintegration of the nuclear family. The idea that we are aborting, and I don't have the numbers, I've said I'd get them before, it's a lot. The numbers are high. The numbers are really high. And so these are policies, and they're platforms in a political party. And as I've said before, you have the right to decide what you do with your party, with your body, but does the taxpayer pay for you to dispose of a life that you frivolously created and you frivolously do not want? There is the attitude that the child wouldn't be wanted, won't be cared for. It's still, as an energetic universal, we all share the energy of this beautiful experience called life. And if we desecrate it to the degree of, 1.5 billion abortions in the last 40 years. And counting. The number. The neat thing about the coronavirus, all this stuff going on and you couldn't go and you couldn't do and all this stuff, abortion clinics actually, there have been more abortions this year than there were last year. And that's throughout months of lockdown. So I'm not a proponent of gratuitous abortions. I mean, you can do with what you like, but we're dealing with public policy. The taxpayer pays for you to be frivolous with your life and energy. And so I pay for it. I'm not so sure I like that. And I don't think that as an energetic member of the global tribe, I don't agree with it. We could have these discussions, but I'm getting stuck on that, so I'll move on. So, but those are the two issues that I picked up on today. And not just, I've been thinking about them today, they're recent. But the James Cook professor at the University of North Carolina professor, that were both terribly hard done by their peers. One would think that in the world of science, science counts, but that's not it. It is politics. Who funds this bullshit? The idea that, and I've been part of it. I have been part of it. I'll talk about it later. But in the aid game, the idea that and it deals with abortion and population. I was a proponent of a whole revamp of the education system in the Solomons for something known as heading towards a population education foundation. So that's understanding that the population of the Solomons is growing at 3.6, 3.8 per annum. And I'm going back into the 80s when I was working on this. And we were saying then, if we don't plan ahead and take into account the population increase, there will not be enough schools, there will not be enough hospitals, there will not be enough roads, there will not be enough ships, there will not be enough services, and the government will not be able to afford what's happening. Well, of course, nobody listened to me because it came closely tied into what was known as family planning and birth control. I'm a proponent of birth control. By all means, control births. By all means. I don't think abortions are legal in the Solomons. They are done, and this is one of the problems, is you legalize abortion, then an abortion in a safe manner is available. Whereas if it's illegal, then it's a coat hanger in the alleyway. And there's a lot of nasty stuff that comes from that. So there we are. What are we doing? I'm sitting next to this magnificent motorcycle. It's been a little while. I'm not very consistent with my blogging. And I'm just about out of time. So what I'm going to do is kind of close up for the night. After mowing and having fun, it's all been good. So till next time.